I know for most of you, he probably needs absolute action, but I do have a bit of a bio that he is the world's premier authority on goal achievement for individuals, leaders, teams, and their business. Now, I don't know if Keith wrote that himself, but it's pretty impressive.
My mum wrote that for me. She reckons I'm fabulous.
Excellent. So many industries across the globe do turn to Keith for inspiration, and I'm sure it will be an afternoon of inspiration for us. So a massive, massive thank you from all of us, Keith, for sharing your time with us today. Now, would you still like me to hand over host, or you're happy to just share screen away?
Oh, I think if you just spotlight me, that'd be great, just so everyone can see me. And because I've got some slides and things like that I want to go through. So if you can just pin my video, or if everyone can just do that themselves, that'd be excellent. So thanks, Amanda. I appreciate the kind introduction that I sent to you that you've read brilliantly. So thank you for doing that. And hello to everybody for joining us this afternoon. I know everyone's got heaps on at the moment, just coming out. By the way, can you believe it's almost Easter? I mean, how quick has the first couple of months gone already? So I wanted to spend a little bit of time with you and just take a moment and talk to you about what's important, what matters, and what makes a difference here. I have a great love for MDRT. I've been fortunate over the last 25 years to have, and this is my 25th year of being a professional speaker, to have been involved in some part in MDRT. Going back all those years ago to speaking at a Queensland chapter event at the Polo Club when Ross Vanderwolf was the president of Queensland MDRT. The chapter chair and then, obviously then doing a road show, and then from then getting invited along to go and speak at an annual meeting, and then what they call it, MDRT experience up in Bangkok. And then from then, of course, being so fortunate to have spoken on the main platform, MDRT in Anaheim. I'm not sure how many years ago that was now, but it was probably 1,000 years ago, let's say. And so it's just great to have the opportunity to connect with MDRT. I have a great affinity for the life insurance industry. I grown up in the life insurance industry, training, back when they were called insurance consultants. So I just have watched both from the sidelines and work with so many financial advisors and financial planners over the last 25 years to help them grow their business. So it's good to be able to, for me, to be able to give something back, because I know it's been a tough and challenging period of time, from royal commissions to pandemics to educational standards and everything like that. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do this afternoon. The hardest thing you have to do is think, write, and use the chat box from time to time. I'm going to make it nice and interactive. The time that I've got with you this afternoon, I want to make really interactive as we go through. We did send a handout to people, but if you haven't got the handout, that's okay. I'll ask you to grab a pen and paper. Oh, excuse me. I'll ask you to grab a pen and a paper and to be able to take some notes as we go through. So if you're thinking, I'm just going to listen to Keith I'm just going to listen to Keith and then I'm just going to chew through my emails. Hey, listen, drop off now. We'll send you the recording because I want you to be present, because part of this information is actually making you do some work as part of that. I hope I haven't offended anybody. And if I have, stiff shit. So let's just keep on rocking and rolling as we go through. So when the pandemic hit, the whole COVID hit, like you, like me, my business got affected. I speak at 100 conferences every year. I've been doing that now for the last 25 years. And so I'm booked 12 months in advance. I think I shared this story with Matt, and I shared it with Jenny Brown a few, middle of last year. 70 conferences vanished in 10 days. Excuse me. So 70 conferences vanished. And I sat down and I thought, what do I got to do? What do I need to do? So I built a studio. I'm going to show you the studio today. I want to talk to you about the one message that I got out of when I first got into it. So I've never done a virtual presentation before April last year. And so I spent about 40 hours learning to do virtual presentations, set up the studio, And from the start of April to the middle of December, I delivered 101 virtual presentations to 27,500 people in 26 different countries. And it has totally transformed the way I do my business. In-person events are coming back. This week has been a really typical of what's starting to happen in the industry. I did 2 in-person events, one on Monday, one on Wednesday. I've got a virtual, obviously, with you guys today, and I've got a virtual tomorrow, and that'll be my week. So 4 presentations for the week. And so one of the things I've been saying to people, one of the things I did when the pandemic first hit is I contacted 400 clients. If there's one thing I've learned from the insurance industry, from the financial advice industry, was to get on the phone. So in 4 weeks, I contacted 400 clients, 100 a week, 20 a day. Remember those old days? Contacted, and I just reached out and just asked them this one question: what can I do for you? How best can I help you? I'm here to serve. And a lot of my clients said this to me: Keith, we need to get through this. And after a while, I heard this over and over and over again. And I thought, you know what? This is not an opportunity to get through anything. This is not an opportunity to get through COVID. This is an opportunity to grow through COVID. And so I just thought this is a wonderful opportunity to grow my business, to grow my relationships with my clients, to grow myself personally and professionally. And so what I want to share with you is, what are you doing to develop yourself? Have you got a vision for the future rather than a memory of the past? We need to be focused. We need to be in this corridor of clarity, not the chasm of confusion. And so one of the things I'd like you to start to think a little bit about is what's important, what matters, and what makes a difference to you. You know, what I can share with you is this, is that 3% of people fit into 4 categories. 3% of people go and make things happen. 10% of people think or expect things to happen. 60% of people just watch things happen. And 27% of people don't know what happened. Let me ask you this question. Do you know people who've got no idea? Because if you're like me, I know those people. I know people have just got no idea of what happened over the last 12 months. People in my industry are still thinking, what type of camera do I need to buy? Duh, mate, you've missed the boat. This is an opportunity to create a business for the future for you, to reshape how you do business, to be able to connect more, to develop, to change, to adapt, and to modify. So today, one of the things I'd like to do with you is cover these 3 areas. I want to talk about resetting what is important to you, what matters to you, what's going to make a difference to you and the people who mean the world to you, your team, your family, your clients, your MDRT community. The second thing I want to talk to you about today is I want to get you to review. I want to review what is the number one goal you want to achieve personally and professionally in the next 12 months, because you have to have a true north clearly defined for yourself. The third thing I want to talk to you about is I want to talk to you about how do you refocus? So how do you develop great momentum? You know, the amount of times people have asked me, Keith, can you come along and motivate our people? No, I don't do that. I think you've got to be motivated. Don't get me wrong, but it has to come from within, not externally. You know, often people say to me, you know, here's what I believe: motivational seminars and speakers, a bit like a hot bath. They feel really good when you're in it, but you get cold as soon as you get out of it. So I want to make sure that you're creating momentum in your business. Where there has been chaos, confusion, and calamity, we need clarity. We need to be very, very clear. We need to, actually, in fact, write this down. We need to starve our distractions and feed our focus. Starve our distractions and feed our focus. You know what people have been doing for the last 12 months? They've been feeding the distractions and starving their focus. If you think that's a fair description, can you take a moment and whack Y in the chat box for me just to get yourself going? You know what? You know, do you think people have just been so distracted by stuff and they haven't focused on what's important, what matters, and what makes a difference to them? Thanks, Mitch. Thanks, Aaron. Thanks, Jenny. Thanks, Sarah. So you get this process. Oh, I should tell you, here's how I use the chat box. I'll ask you to type things in there. I'll ask you to share your ideas and thoughts and insights. If you want to mark it private to me, mark it private, and I won't use your name. But if you just if you put your name in there, I will use your name, just so we're all connected. I love this quote from Walt Disney. Now, here's what I want to share with you. Can I indulge in just a moment? So when I first got involved in the speaking industry, one of the first conferences I went to was a professional speakers conference in Adelaide. So I went along to this conference and I heard a guy from the States talk about, if you're really serious about building a business, you need to get to the annual National Speakers Convention in Anaheim. It's in about 3 months' time. You need to be there. And I said to a mate of mine, Bruce Sullivan, great speaker, I should say, do you want to go to that? And he said, yeah. So we jumped on a plane and we went to that. And we were in Anaheim there, and it was fantastic. And I sat alongside this guy, and every time a speaker got up on stage, they were introduced. Here's Larry Winget, and Larry is the best-selling author of blah, 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 blah. And, of course, he is an MDRT. He's just recently spoken at MDRT. And I heard this over and over and over again. And I'm thinking, what's this MDRT? And, of course, one of the things that I realised, they're talking about $1 million round table. And I said, one of these days, if they're the types of speakers that get a chance to speak on MDRT, which was the platform to speak on, and still is the platform to speak on, I said, I'm going to do that. And can you believe this? I set that goal, and that was exactly the same conference room I was in when I spoke at MDRT main platform, something like 20 years after. And so one of the things that I just always think a little bit about, and that's why I have such a close affinity. I went to Disneyland when I was there, and I love this quote. Let me put it full screen so you can see it or take a photo of it. Walt, in his book titled Walt, he shared this quote. He said, you want to first think, second believe, third dream, and finally dare. Here's what I honestly believe as part of this process that we need to do, is that we've got to think bigger, bolder. We have to start to believe in ourselves that we add significant value, and that what we're going to do is going to transform and transition the clients that we work for. We have to dream big dreams. And often what happens is where there's been so much chaos and confusion and calamity, we stop thinking long-term. We just think about survival rather than being significant. And finally, and this is the one thing all of us need to do, is we have to dare to take the first step and to move ourselves towards what we want and move away from what we don't want. And we have to be brave enough, or dare to be brave enough, for 5 minutes longer, to just take that first step to move ourselves forward as part of that process. So here's what I do know. And if you're following along the workbook, with clarity comes confidence. And with confidence comes certainty. And with certainty comes consistency. How many of us on this call are consistently inconsistent? We start, we stop, we start, we stop. Or we're consistently inconsistent in how we stay connected to our clients. We're consistently inconsistent in how we continue to change and evolve and develop. And I probably feel like I'm almost speaking to the choir, preaching to the choir here, because at MDRT, you get so many wonderful development opportunities. When you plug in, there are so many resources to help you become great at what you do, to become significant at what you do, and to make a difference in what you do. I love this quote. Nothing great happens until someone becomes passionate about something. And when there has been so much change in your industry and what's been happening to you, it is just so important now to make sure that you are being, important, to really get clear on what it is, what's important, what matters, and what's going to make a difference to you and what you're passionate about. And why I talk about passion, I've written 4 books around passion, focus, direction, goals. And one of the things that I often, people say to me, Keith, geez, passion's like one of those words people, love or don't love. And I said, look, if you said to me you can never ever use the word passion ever again, too easy. I just change the word to energy. You want to hang around people that got good energy, don't you? How do you know when you hang around negative people? Simple. You feel a lot better after you left them. And so this is making sure that you are one of those people who are passionate about what you do, passionate personally, passionate about the industry you're in and the difference you make, and passionate about where you're going and where you're taking yourself and your business moving forward. And so it's so important to get clear on what it is. And this is why it's so important to understand your why. You have to know your why. You see, when the why becomes clear, the how becomes easy. And all too often, rarely do we stop and think about it. So understanding your why, especially what we've been going through in the last 12 months, you want to be really clear on your true north. My father-in-law, so I've been married to my wife for 29 years. We've been together for 30. And one of the things I know is her dad has a boat. And so we've been going out in that boat for years and years and years. Easter, Christmas, certain, Father's Day, all that sort of stuff. Now, I know very little about boating, but here's the one thing I do know about boating is that if I'm in a boat and I am 1 degree off course for 5 minutes, it's no big deal. You adjust the sail, you adjust the rudder, and you bring the boat back on course. If I'm in a boat and I am 1 degree off course for 30 days, I am lost at sea. And what tends to happen is people lose track of their true north. They get confused with the horizon versus the destination. And so this is about making sure you're really clear on why you're in this industry, why you want to help people financially secure their futures, to have a great financial plan moving forward. You need to be very, very clear on what your personal why and your professional why as part of that process. For a lot of people, it's about making a difference. Now, if you've been with me, and Jenny, you've seen me 1,000 times, and Matt Fogarty, I'm pretty sure you've seen me 1,000 times as well. One of the things I often talk a little bit about is writing down your list of 100 things you want to do in your lifetime. And I just adjusted it during COVID to say, what are the 20 things that you can influence and have an impact on, and the things you want to achieve in the next 12 weeks? So the first activity I'd love to do with you is I'd love you to take a moment and actually start to think about what are those 20 little things that you want to achieve in the next 12 weeks. Why? Because actual fact, let me ask you this question. How many people on this Zoom call get frustrated if you don't feel like you're making progress? Or is that just me? I know I need to feel like I'm moving towards the things I want, moving away from things I don't want. And so the 20 things I wanted you to start to think a little bit about is about creating momentum, about creating progress in your life, not perfection, but progress, and moving yourself towards what you want. So there are, if you're following along on the handout, you can answer the 20 questions that are on the page, or what we can do is just go through some of them on the screen here. And I'm going to ask you to write them out, but more importantly, I'm going to ask you to type them in the chat box as well, if you'd be so kind. Let me go through some of these areas. Is there a family activity you love doing the next 12 weeks? And I know for some people in Melbourne, geez, Keith, just getting, to be able to go and see my family across the border or up in the country or whatever it might be, really important. That was the group told me yesterday. Is there a project you want to start personally or professionally? Is there a goal in the role that you do in your business that you want to accomplish in the next 12 weeks? Is there a sporting activity you want to do? I know for me, I've taken up golf again. I've had this unbelievable amount of time on my hands. Still done the same amount of presentations. Actually, I did about 132 presentations last year. And so of the 101 was virtual, and the rest were all, pre and post, in-person events. So is there a sporting activity? Is there an activity with your friends to get some of your mates around and reconnect with them? And maybe it's that attending, was it the 30th of April, I think, for the MDRT event, to come to that. Have you got a health goal you want to achieve in the next 12 weeks? Is there a financial milestone you want to personally achieve? Is there a place you want to see? Is there a food experience you want to accomplish? Is there a sporting event you want to go and watch? Is there an activity with your partner that you want to do? Is there a great weekend goal? Maybe giving yourself the weekend to go for a bit of a trip, or actually maybe the next 12 weeks, plan that family holiday you've been putting off for a little while, or something where you want to make a difference. What do you want to accomplish in the next 12 weeks around those 20 areas? Here's what I'd love you to do. Just put yourself on mute if you have time. Here's what I'd love you to do. If you want to, okay, here we go. Oh, heaps of people have got things there in there. So Brad, absolutely. Holiday up north, Aaron. Super. Matt, going some skiing, family holiday to Perth. Matthew, yep, going across the many borders there. Finished my engine rebuild. Mitch, I'd like to know, what sort of engine are you rebuilding? Dinner catch up with MDRT friends, Matthew, lovely. Join a sport. Have a date, Sarah. Wow, Michael, another hole in one. You had to bring it up, didn't you? You had to just bring it up and piss people off who are the keen golfers. Bob, sitting past that's your exam next Monday. I love it. So personal. Easter with the fam. Thanks, Dominique. G'day, Harry. Good to see you, mate. Lead the big blue spark. Oh, wow. Okay. Go to Melbourne Storm game, Nick. Wonderful. Go to the Storm. I don't mind the Storm. How about just a hole in one? Okay, wonderful. There you go, Brad. Super. So you guys well and truly got this handled. So here's what I want you to start to think a little bit. So very clever. I want you to now think about what are the goals that you want to achieve in the next 12 months. What are the goals you want to achieve in the next 12 months around 4 key areas? And by the way, I will go from macro to micro as part of this process. I will get you to really start to think a little bit about, what's the big picture? That's the 20 in 12 weeks. But now what are the one specific goal that you want to achieve in your business? But let's talk about you personally. So if you're following along the workbook, professionally, what is the number one goal that you want to achieve in your business in the next 12 months? Now, when I say 12 months, it could be the end of this year or it could be March 2022. So what's that number one goal you want to achieve professionally? Now, here's the secret with this. Like anything, you have to be specific. You have to be specific. Vague goals equal vague results. So I want you to be really specific on what you want to achieve in the next 12 months in your business. Now, when I say specific, put as much detail around. Now, I'm not going to ask you to share this, but I want you to put as much detail around as possible. I want you to do that because here's the reason why. At the back of your head is a thing called a reticular activating system. It is your ability that brings the subconscious and the consciousness together, and it creates an ability for you to focus. What does that really look like? Have you ever thought about buying a new car? As soon as you make a decision on the type of car you want to own, you see them everywhere. Oh, there's another one. Oh, there's another one. There's another one. Now, the car didn't get popular because you chose it. What happens is your subconscious and your conscious now are working together to say, I'm on the lookout for this, and I will recognize this when I see it, and I will send that brainwave, that current through to your brain and say, there it is, there it is, there it is. Now, if it works for cars, why wouldn't it work for your goals? About manifesting the goal that you want to achieve. So your number one professional goal. Here's the next one. Personally, what do you want to achieve? Family, fun, adventure. So their holidays you want to do, their experiences you want to have with your family, things you want to achieve. I had a group I had 40 leaders on Monday at the back of Moolumbar, a big construction company, and they're 40 top leaders there. And one of the guys, he said, you know what, I got 2 sons, and one son I got a great connection with, and the other one who's different. And if you've got kids, I got 2 daughters, a 22-year-old, almost 24-year-old, and a 21-year-old, and they're both very, very different. And so, his comment, he said, is I've got a great relationship with one son, but you know what, in the next 12 months, my goal is to actually build a great relationship with my other son. And to really connect with him on his level. So it could be as simple as that. It could be a holiday. It could be something you want to take up fun. Here's the next one. The next one is physical. This is about your health, your fitness, and your strength. Now, when we talk about strength, I'm not talking about pumping iron. I'm talking about strength of mind, resilience. I'm talking about making sure that you are tenacious in pursuing what's important to you. But it can be the physical. And so, one of my goals at the moment is to shed a few kilos and get stronger, get fitter, get more flexible as part of that process. And I've got some specific metrics around that. And the last one is about personal profitability. We can talk about business profitability, but let's talk about personal profitability. This is the ability for you to say, what do you want to financially, what do you want to achieve next 12 months? What do you want to save for? What purchases do you want to make? What debts do you want to pay off? What is it that's really important to you to let go and to be able to move yourself forward? So I want you just to think a little bit about having one goal in each of those 4 areas for yourself personally and professionally. And by the way, this is probably something you need to do with your partner, your life partner. Probably good to obviously talk about your business goals with your business partner as well, but this is about making sure that with your life partner, you're sitting down and going through this process. getting really clear on what it is that you want to achieve, but making sure that you have as much detail in it as possible just to switch on that reticular activating system as part of that process. Why do I talk a lot about goals? Well, for the last about 37 years, I've been fascinated with the goal setting process. I've been really focused and dedicated on learning as much as I can about high performance. And so, I've spoken now to 1.6 million people in 33 different countries over 25 years. And I've had this wonderful opportunity to talk to high performers. And what's been really interesting to me, the question I kept on asking myself is, why do smart, intelligent people set realistic, tangible goals and yet they don't achieve them? They have capacity, they have capability, they have expertise, they have inspiration behind them, and yet they don't achieve it. And what I worked out is that unless you have an emotional connection, a mental connection, and a physical connection, let me put this on full screen for you, unless you have all three of those, unless you know the why, the what, and the how, you won't do the uncomfortable, the inconvenient, and the unknown. And so it's really, really important that you have got the ability to making sure that you have each of these three elements. What does it really look like? Heart, head, and hands. And so making sure you know exactly if you've got all three. Now, why do I say it's so important? Because every time you go and pursue a goal, what it tends to happen is it's uncomfortable, it's inconvenient, it's unknown. You've got to do something different. But really, when we have these three elements, we are committed, we are connected to the goal, and more importantly, we're compelled to pursue it. So when we start to think a little bit about these these three key areas, making sure that you have these three components. So what does this look like in reality? So the research that I've done over the last 18 years with high performers around this one particular model, what we can say is that of the 135 different emotions you can experience as an adult, 64 of them are positive. Of those 64, they break down into 8, what I would call goal drivers. And I'm going to share these goal drivers with you, and I'm going to ask you to pick how you want to feel about your business in the next 12 months. If I can select these of these 8. So let me just work you through this. Now, by the way, in the handout, there's a complete description of these 8. And so I'm going to put them on full screen, and I'm going to talk to them as we go through. Now, I know this is no surprise to people, but one of the things that we can do is about being successful. People want to feel successful. Now, here's the definition of success. People want to feel there's a status and a prestige and a level of accomplishment around this one. People also want to feel purposeful. What do we mean by that? They want to make sure they're doing something for a bigger reason why. So the goal they're pursuing, it leads to something bigger, better, and bolder for them. So next one is people want to feel inspired. They want the goal to inspire them to move forward. People want to feel happy. Now, here's what we mean by happy. It's a sense of love. It's a sense of, the goal I pursue is not only giving me this level of accomplishment, but it's giving me joy as part of that process. Here's the next one as part of this process. People want to feel organized. What are we talking about here? Control. They want to feel control in their life. They want to control what they can control. The next is that people want to feel respected. And for some people, and this might be a driver for you, the reason why you're MDRT, the reason why you want to be at top of the table is to gain respect from your peers as well as from, as an accomplishment in the industry. So people want to feel respected. People want to feel confident. They want to be able to walk into a room and know that, I'm all right. I'm enough. I'm good enough to be as part of this process. And then, of course, the last one is people want to feel relaxed. And what we mean by that is they want to make sure that the goal they're achieving or what they're trying to pursue is effortless. There is a flow to it, not as this challenge, and I get worn down by that. So here's what I'd love you to do for me, if you'd be so kind. I'd love you to take a moment and I'd love you just to pop in the chat box for me. What How do you want to feel about your business in the next 12 months? And let me just put that back up there on the page again. And sorry, Amanda, I just saw your answer there. I'm not sure why. I'm pretty sure I did send that handout to you, but let me just see if I can drop it in the chat box for you. And if I can't drop it in the chat box, I will. There it is, goal setting 7. Let me see if it'll just, it'll just, no, it might not let me do it. Everybody. Well, let me just see if I can drop it in the chat box. And just if you can just type in the chat box for, I don't want to give you all the master handouts. We don't want to do that. Just seeing that a few people might not have gotten the handout. No, I'm going to email it to you. Let me just do that. All right. So in the chat box, if you'd be so kind, can you type in there for me? Confident Matthew for you. Harry, happy. Super confident, Nick. Not just confident, but really super confident. I love that. I love it, love it, love it. What else have we got here? Wonderful thing. Back on top of things. Yeah, good. So that's the confidence piece, Amanda. Cool, calm, and collected. Mitch, that's confidence again as part of that process. Good. Anybody else? What else? How else do you want to feel? How else do you want to feel? I just want to mute yourself. I think somebody's come off mute. I'm not sure who that is.
See you tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'll be here tomorrow. I'll be here. Yeah. Yeah, see you tomorrow.
Not sure who's muted themselves there. Okay, good. Excellent. So here's what I'd like to keep on rocking and rolling. So now that you've got this, here's what I want you to think a little bit about. What's the number one business goal that you want to achieve in your business in the next 12 months? What's that number one goal that you want to achieve? Now, I'm going to walk you through what I call the goal driver process. And I want to share this process with you. There's 6 parts to it, and you can just type it or just write it on a piece of paper. And you've sort of already done the 2 parts already. So here's how it looks like. Here's what I'd like you to do. I want you to first put in there what your goal driver is. So whatever you just typed in the box or whatever you've written down around those 8, remember the 8? The 8 was people want to feel successful, people want to feel purposeful, people want to feel inspired, people want to feel happy, people want to feel organized, people want to feel confident, people want to feel respected, and people want to feel relaxed. So the first thing I want you to do is write in how you want to feel about your business in the next 12 months. Type that in write that in. Don't type it in the chat box, just write it on your piece of paper. Here's the next thing I want you to do. I want you to identify the number one goal. Now, you would have written this down before, but I want you to rewrite it because I want all this on one page or on a bit of a flow. So what's that number one goal? Now, you need to build as much detail around it as possible. So if you're saying, I want to earn this amount of money, and so you might say, look, Keith, I want to have $2 million turnover in my business. Okay, great, fantastic. But that's not enough. No, sorry, that's enough money. But what it is that it needs to be enough detail. So let me give you an example. I want an annual turnover of $2 million in the next 12 months. I want to have 20% profitability. I want to have consistent referrals of 5 coming to me every single week, fortnight, month. And so you just build as much detail. I'm going to accomplish this with 4 people in my team. I'm going to be, most of my database is now utilizing 3 of my specific services. So you build in as much detail as you can. So there's a picture. So in essence, if you showed me your goal, you wouldn't have to explain it to me. I'd understand it by being able to read it. Does this make sense? And so really important that you have just absolute clarity around it. Here's the next piece of the puzzle. You have to put down a time frame. So really important. Now, I've said 12 months, but in essence, you might say, Keith, I want to accomplish this by the 20th of December. Keith, you know what? This is probably a June 2022 goal. So it's, what's that? 15 months. So I want you to articulate the actual time frame. But more importantly, I want you to put down a date. So a day, a date, a month, and a year. So putting down a really specific. Now, if you're going to the Olympics as in the shooting competition, you're not aiming at the target, you're aiming at the bullseye. And so this is making sure that you've got a very clearly defined bullseye to aim at. The next piece of the puzzle is you have to write down 5 reasons why this goal is so important to you. Unless you've got a big enough reason why, any excuse will do. Too hot, too cold, too many, too few, too little, too much, too easy, too hard. And so this is so important to making sure that you have got 5 reasons why you want to achieve this goal. Now, if you'd love to do this for me, in the chat box, I do not need to know the goal, but I want to hear what are some of your reasons why the goal that you've just written down is so important to you. Don't tell me your goal. Don't tell me when you want to achieve by, but tell me why this goal is so important to you, and I'll just come back and have a look at your chat box as we go here. So why is that goal so important to you? I now have a family. Yes, so Keith, really security and consistency of income is really important. A state of mind, Mitch. Yeah, absolutely. Knowing that I am on the right track and heading in the right direction. It'll make me feel calmer, Sarah. Yeah, that's right. Because there's a consistency coming through. And there's nothing worse than having your income up and down and up and down and up and down. And so that gives you a sense of calmness and it gives you a sense of security. Good. It'll help build my business of the future. Yeah, Nick, absolutely. Could this year be for you, Nick? Could this year be platform? Building the platform, putting down the foundations so you can build the sky, the super tower, so to speak. What else for other people? Aaron, for you, more time for golf and travel and time with friends. Yeah. So for you, Aaron, it's like, you know what, Keith, this will give me a great cash flow, which will give me choices and options. And those choices and options are things that drive me to move forward. For you, Bob, I need to learn how to relax so I can move into retirement, except that it'll be a good place to be. Yeah. Bob, one of the real challenges, and this is a bloke thing as well, is that a lot of times when blokes retire, their title of what they were in their role diminishes or moves. They're no longer doctor or professor or MDRT, whatever it might be. And hence a lot of things is wrapped around that. And the ability to be able to relax and to be able to say, you know what, I am comfortable with what I've accomplished in the time that I've had in the industry, really, really important, and also financially as well. Good, excellent. So everyone's got that. Thanks. And by the way, thanks everybody for sharing. So step number 5, this is hand on heart, no BS time. This is going to be a bullshit-free zone. And I want you to say to yourself, here's what I want you to think a little bit about. I want you to write down for me don't tell me the goal, but in the chat box, I want you to say, what is the one thing you need to start doing in your business? What's the one thing you need to start doing in your business if you're going to accomplish that goal? What is the one thing you need to stop doing in your business to accomplish the goal that you wrote down, to feel the way you want to feel and to achieve it in that time frame? What's the one thing you need to stop doing, and what's the one thing you need to start doing to be able to achieve the goal? And because here's what I can tell you is that if we're going to achieve any goal that we want to achieve, there are some things that we're going to have to stop doing, and there's some things that we're going to have to start doing. Otherwise, you would have already accomplished it. So take a moment, if you'd be so kind, in the chat box, type in there if you want to share, of course. And by the way, this is to be used for good, not evil. So nobody jumping in the chat box and saying, "Oh yeah, you got to stop doing that." Matt Fogarty, that's been pissing me off for years. You can't have that type of conversation. So tell me, what do you need to start doing? What do you need to stop doing moving forward? Coming through slowly. Oh, here we go. Nick, start picking up the phone and stop trying to recreate the wheel. Yeah. Nick, so one of the things that I've said to my colleagues, people often say to me, I've been doing this for 25 years. I've had a really successful run at it. And I'm not blowing my own trumpet or anything like that. But people say, well, how have you been consistently employed 100 conferences year? That was during GFC. It's been through a pandemic. It was through, 9/11, SARS, What else? Everything, Y2K, always being consistent. And you know what I did? What I said to him is I just made 7 phone calls a day. So when I'm growing my business, I contact 7 people a day. 7 people. So handwritten note, phone call, text, these days a quick little personal video to someone. But you know what it was? You might want to write this down. Activity cures inactivity. If you're not making enough money, if you don't have enough prospects walking to your door, it's because you're not active in doing that type of work. What else? Aaron, for you, stop crappy admin. Yeah. Stop. Hey, Nick, just come back to you for a minute. Stop recreating the wheel. There's so many successful, there is a successful system. All you need to do now is just stop getting bogged down in trying reinventing the wheel and just go out and do the activity. Stop crappy admin. Yeah. Aaron, one of the things I did early on in my business is I stopped doing the $25 hour jobs and I focused on doing the $2,500 hour jobs. And for most of the financial advisors and planners that I've worked with in Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, the UK, USA, Canada, Singapore, one of the things that Hong Kong as well, one of the things I'd say to you is that most of them are doing the low value tasks and they get bogged down in that and they don't get it, and that consumes all their time and they never get the time to do the high value stuff. So my team have a goal. Their goal is to make sure I'm working on high value activities. Mitch, for you, more focus on what I'm doing and less procrastination. Yeah. Here's what I can say about procrastination. Procrastination is the greatest robber of self-confidence. The greatest enhancer of self-confidence is self-discipline. And so if you know that you should do something and you don't do it, eats away at you. But if you know in your heart of hearts that you're doing the work that you should be doing to move you closer to what you want and move away from what you don't want, then that gives you a great sense of accomplishment, gives you a great energy. And so, if you want to beat procrastination forever, forget about making 400 phone calls, make one. And once you've made one, make the second one. Here's what I say, forget about what you're trying to accomplish and focus just on starting, just on taking this first step. The day you take the first step, you're beating procrastination. Brad, remove the Instagram from my phone. Yeah, social media, we're scrolling. Yep, cool. Peter, get rid of irrelevancies and more focused on timed actions. Yet, start saying no to wrong type of clients and existing clients as well. Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes we've got to let go of some clients. We've outgrown clients as part of that. And maybe sometimes we're just not the right fit anymore for them and they're not the right fit for me. Stop worrying, be present, happy, and breathe, Harry, breathe. Yeah, good to breathe. All right, coming back here. So thanks for sharing that with me. Here's the next one is that, okay, so you know what you have to do. You know what you have to start doing. You know what you have to stop doing. You know what the goal is. You know how you want to feel. You know what your driver is. So one of the things I want to say now is, okay, so what are you going to do in the next week? So between now and next, Thursday, what are you going to do? What will you have accomplished? How many calls will you make, or what will you let go of, or what system will you have created, or what will you have tidied up? And sometimes maybe it's just tidying up the crap. So what will you have accomplished in the next week? Here's the second step. What do you want to achieve 2 weeks from now? What do you want to achieve from 3 weeks from now? What do you want to achieve from 4 weeks from now? And I want you just to break it down. Break it down into easy, bite-sized pieces. I love that quote from Nelson Mandela. He said, always seems impossible until it's done. And this is about just chipping away. Everybody on this call, on this Zoom call, has heard the quote, Rome wasn't built in a day. But I love the second part of that quote, but people turned up every day and worked on it. It wasn't built in a day, but people turned up every day and worked on it. And so I want you to start to think a little bit about doing something every day that moves you closer to what you want as part of it. And then on top of this process, you have to know, you have to pick a mindset. You have to pick an attitude. You have to pick what's important, what matters, and what's going to make a difference to you as part of this process. And so here's the thing I'd be saying to you. I'd be saying to you, pick a mindset. Now, you know what's interesting is over 25 years, people often say to me, okay, I've just got to be positive. And I think to myself, what the hell does that mean? Well, what does it mean to be positive? So I think you have to be specific. And what I talk about here is making sure you have an amplified attitude. What does that really look like? You have to turn it up. You have to pick a mindset and then you have to amplify it. You have to turn it up. So there are 6 amplified attitudes. Let me show you these 6 as part of this process. Let me bring them up to full screen for you. And so let me ask you this question. If from the top of your head to the soles of your feet, if you were, come over to here, type that one in, if you were courageous, with every cell in your body, from the top of your head to the soles of your feet, if you were courageous, what could you accomplish? What could you do? How would you walk? How would you talk? How would you think? What would you say to yourself? What would you say to others if you were courageous? See, here's what I believe. For anybody in this planet to change, we have to be courageous. We have to do the uncomfortable, inconvenient, and the unknown. We have to lean into what is difficult. We have to fall in love with the uncomfortable. And so what could you accomplish? If you were tenacious, what could you accomplish? What could you achieve if you were tenacious? How would you walk? How would you talk? How would you think? What would you say to yourself? And what would you say to others if you were tenacious? If you were prepared to hold your resolve when it got comfortable or inconvenient, what could you accomplish? The story I share with people is that I've had a client. I met them in the first year I'd started doing business. And every year I'd reach out to them a couple of times a year and see if I could do anything for them. And they'd say no. And I stayed in touch with them. And I bet you this is very similar to people on this call. I stayed in touch with them for 16 years. 16 years of no. 16 years. Now, it was never no, get lost, we never want to talk to you again. It was just no, not now. And I'd always ask permission, can I just stay in touch with you and reconnect with you in 12 months' time? So this went on for 16 years of no's. In the 17th year, they contacted me and said, we'd like you to speak at one conference. This is 7 years ago. 6 years ago, my apologies. 6 years ago, I want you to speak at one conference. So great, no worries at all, always happy to have the opportunity. And I spoke at that conference. And so the last 6 years, I've done more than 40 events for them globally, generated probably close to $1 million in revenue over that period of time. They've taken my books and published in 12 different languages around the world. And I'm so grateful I didn't give up in the 14th year. And all I can contribute that to is that I am tenacious, that I have great tenacity. And if there's anything, I don't think I'm that smart. I don't think I'm that clever, but I am tenacious. What's going to be your mindset? What would happen in your life if you were limitless? If you were limitless, if you were prepared to if you had limitless opportunities, if you had an ocean of opportunities, what would happen in your business? If you had limitless energy, what would happen in your business? What would happen if you had great self-love? If you were no longer your harshest critic, now you were your greatest coach and your best cheerleader. What would happen in your business if you had great self-love? What would happen in your business if you were empowered? If you were no longer waiting for someone to give you permission to step into your potential, what would happen? If you were no longer waiting for someone to say that you can do it, that you were prepared to back yourself, what would do? And what would happen if you were grateful? If you were grateful for the people who said no, if you were grateful for the people who you got in a car and drove 2 hours to go and see them and they weren't there, what would happen? Because here's what I believe. If you don't find the gratitude and what's happened to you during everything over the last couple of years, you will become bitter, not better. And I see this in financial advisors in this country where they're just so pissed off with the world and life that they cannot see the opportunity to move forward. And so this is about being grateful for everything that's happened to you. And let me tell you, it's hard to be, you know what? Let me say this to you. It's easy to be grateful when everything's great, but you got to find gratitude and when it's crappy. I think Matt Foggy knows this story, and probably even Jenny, you might even know this story, but 2019. So I've been talking about being grateful for a while, people. And 2019, my dad, 93 years of age. I get a phone call from my sister. I just get back from London. I get a phone call from my sister and says, you got to come and see Dad. So I go up to the nursing home and see my mum and my dad, and my dad's not great. But he's lived a great life. He's lived a big life. He's been a great life, and he passed away. And so I said to my sister, I said, I'm not going to hang around. I'm going to go home. I got a few things to tidy up. Then I'm going to come back and we'll organise funerals and all that sort of stuff. On the way back, so my dad passed away. On the way back from Gympie to Brisbane, I get a phone call from my sister-in-law, and it says, your brother's just passed away. I said, no, Dad, no, Dad's just passed away, you mean? No, your brother's just been tragically killed in an accident on the farm. And so I lost my father and my brother all in one day, 4 hours apart, 400 kilometres apart. And I sat down that night and I thought, what a mongrel day. What a mongrel day. And I thought, what am I grateful for? And here's what I was grateful for that day. I was grateful. I had my dad for 90, for all of my life. I had my dad for all of my life. I just thought, I wonder how many people on this call lost their parents when they were young. But I had my dad all of my life. I had a great relationship with my brother. I thought, you know what, I'm grateful for that because I had a great relationship. I wonder how many people don't have great relationships with their siblings. And so I just, whatever's happened to you, you got to find the gratitude. And that's the bitter pill we have to sometimes swallow as part of that process. Can you do me a favor and can you type in the chat box for me which one of those amplified attitudes, let me put them back up on screen, which one of those amplified attitudes is going to be it for you? Which one of those amplified attitudes is going to be it for you? So take a moment and type that in there. Which attitude? Limitless for you, Mitch. Wonderful. Wow. Okay. Thanks for sharing. Thanks, Brad. I thought I could share that with you guys. I haven't shared that with too many people, but it was just one of those things that was courageous for you, Aaron. Wonderful. Courageous for you, Amanda. Super. Tenacious and grateful, Matthew. Yep. Self-love, Harry. Yep. Tenacious. Yep. Bob. Thank you. Beautiful. All right. I'm getting real close to time here, and I wanted to do just a couple of things to finish off with today as part of the process. Here's what I'd like you to do. If you want to go, so most people here know that I've written a book. I don't have a book to sell you or anything like that, but if you want to go to this website, let me just put it up the bottom, across the bottom there. I think you can see that. Keith Abraham /here to help. If you go there, you will get the audio version of this book. So you're most welcome to have this audio version of this book. But you just got to go to this. Well, I've got to put my finger in the right spot. Here to help, and you're most welcome to download that and go for a walk, and you can have a listen to me almost share like a little bedtime story with you if you like a copy of that as part of that process. So making sure that you want to do that. I hope you've enjoyed this session, but the last thing I wanted to finish off with is a good mate of mine had a chance to interview Sir Edmund Hillary before he passed away, and it was interesting. He asked him the question, what was it like when you got to Everest and they said you were going to climb Everest the next day? And to my mate's surprise, he said, when Sir Edmund Hillary replied, when I looked up at Everest, he said, I thought it was too high. I thought it was too hard, and I thought it was too bloody cold. And my mate said to him, what'd you do? And he said, simple, I just put one foot after the other. And I think if you want to achieve anything you've just written down this afternoon, you just have to put one foot after the other. You just are one of the people that you just need to take that opportunity to take the first step and move towards what you want and move away from what you don't want. Hey, Amanda, thanks very much for the invite to hang out with you for an hour or so. Appreciate the opportunity. As I said, I have a great affinity for MDRT, and I love the work that you do and the lives that you change. So keep on doing that and keep on focused on what's key.